Now, sometimes the anti-gun crowd think they're above the law and they don't have to acknowledge the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, or specifically the Second Amendment. Some of them even think that their position on guns is so righteous that they can simply make decisions that affect the lives of everyone just because they feel it's valid. In this particular situation regarding magazine capacity, we have a commissioner, also known as a law clerk, not a judge, overriding a judge's order and taking it upon himself to make law for the people of Washington State. So here's an article in AmmoLand by my friend and editor, Freddie Reel, and it's called Rogue Washington Supreme Court Commissioner Displays Total Ignorance of the Second Amendment. And what they're talking about here is the focal point of this ongoing battle is a recent ruling by Judge Gary Basher of Cowlitz County, which deemed the state's ban on magazines holding more than 10 rounds unconstitutional. The decision underscores a pivotal moment in our understanding and application of constitutional rights, specifically the right to keep and bear arms. So, Judge Basher's decision issued on April 8th didn't just stir the pot, it boiled it over. In a meticulously crafted 55-page ruling, he addressed the ban imposed by Washington State, highlighting its contradiction with both state and federal constitutions. Now, the judge's argument was clear. The restrictions infringe on the fundamental individual right to bear arms, cornerstone of American liberty. However, the victory was short-lived. Within a mere 88 minutes post-decision, a Supreme Court commissioner, a role akin to a high-level law clerk, issued a stay. And Attorney General Bob Ferguson filed an emergency appeal to the state Supreme Court seeking to get the law back on the books. Michael Johnston, the Washington State Supreme Court Commissioner that you see here, granted an emergency stay, keeping the ban in effect. This action temporarily halted the enforcement of Judge Basher's initial ruling, sparking a flurry of debate and confusion about the powers and limits of legal authorities in such matters. So this clown here, who was essentially a glorified law clerk, granted an emergency stay overriding a judge's decision. What are your thoughts?
And he still has a job. Why? How is it still tangled up if he has no authority? If a Supreme Court judge did something and this idiot says no, what?
Exactly.
I guess, you can do whatever you want in this country.
Yeah. Well, as long as if you're a left-wing, anti-gunner, nut job, liberal, whatever, you pretty much can get away with everything because you got the system on your side for now. That's not going to last forever. And I hope they're ready when they have to start being held accountable for some of this stuff, because it will happen at some point. Anyway, we do have a video clip of the Washington State law clerk justifying his position for mag cap restrictions. And then our friend Mark Smith from Four Boxes Diner explaining why he's wrong. Check this clip out.
Now, the way I look at a magazine, this is the way I look at it. Okay, as a magazine, yeah, it's an essential component for a semi-automatic weapon for sure. But a semi-automatic weapon works just fine with 5 rounds, or 10 rounds. One of the remarkable statements I saw in the trial court order, and it's really pretty remarkable to me, was it was basically saying that an LCM is functionally identical to a 10-round magazine. Well, yeah, that's kind of true in the sense that they feed rounds into the weapon as the weapon is fired, but the similarity ends at the 11th round. Okay, and in that sense, they're not functionally identical in any way. And then you have magazines that are 100-round capacity. So
Okay, so this is a typical argument, but it's clearly wrong for a whole host of reasons.
Mark explains
First
it
of
pretty
all,
well here.
as we've talked about, when you ban, and we're not even going to talk about whether or not a magazine is an arm for a moment. We're going to get to that in 1 second. But just think about it for a moment. I explained this to you before, that when you ban magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, you have engaged in banning firearms. You have banned an entire category of firearms, which the Supreme Court has unequivocally said in the Heller case in 2008, you cannot do. Why do I say this? Just think about this intellectually for a moment. If you ban magazines that can hold more than 10 rounds, it means that you have banned an entire category of firearms consisting of those firearms that are capable of firing more than 10 rounds without having to be manually reloaded. So you've essentially banned in the state of Washington all firearms capable of shooting 11 or more rounds without needing to reload. That in and of itself is an entire category of firearms, not just magazines, but firearms that you have banned.
Okay, so what Mark is saying, I think, is if a firearm is capable of shooting more than 10 rounds without reloading, but you're taking away that ability, you're actually restricting that firearm from doing what it's supposed to do. And they have the argument that, well, we're not banning the firearm, we're banning the magazine. Well, dummy, it's the same damn thing. What am I supposed to do?
Oh my God! What is this? Why does this country become so stupid?
Look, if they get away with banning 10-round magazines or anything above 10 round, or even like we had in New York, we were down to 7 rounds for a little while. If they get comfortable there, don't you think they're going to go to 3 rounds?
Yeah.
And eventually 1 round, and eventually no magazines at all?
Yeah, I have to load it one by one.
1 by 1.
See, that's what dummy doesn't know either. Is you can get out a 10-round magazine, but you can also just put one in the chamber too. Then you have 11.
And you have 11, right. Look, if you should be able to have as many rounds as you can carry.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how many people you're going to be attacked by. And if you're limited, like in New York State, to 10 rounds, you're limited. You're getting attacked by 3 or 4 guys with guns. What are you going to do? You can't. 10 rounds isn't even enough. You need to have multiple rounds in that magazine. You need to have multiple magazines, and you need to be ready to protect yourself. But this asshat, is that a word? Asshat?
Yeah, that's a good one.
This asshat, what's his name again? I got to say his name. Michael Johnston, Washington State Supreme Court Commissioner. This asshat.
What do they call a wiener? A Johnson.
Can you show? There he is.
There he is.
Look at that clown.
He's still a virgin.
He's still a virgin. He's like 80 years old, still a virgin. He thinks that he can justify banning magazines because you're not actually banning the firearm. He is wrong. When you ban the magazine, you restrict the firearm. Thanks for watching this clip. There's more where that came from, and we appreciate every like, every follow, and every share. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll bring you more.